Guys, I need some water. I haven't stopped talking, to be honest. I can continue. So today I'm going to be going through all the books I read in 2025. It is 2 months late, but it's fine. We're going to be doing it anyway. I'm going to basically just do a brief description of the books I read, the rating, and why I gave them that rating. Hopefully this video won't last forever. I'm going to try and cut the rambling to a minimum. Let's just see and get on with the first read. So, first book I read in the year was The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is a fantasy romance. It is a duology, I believe. I haven't read the second one because I wasn't like obsessed with this one. I gave it a 3.5, which is a good rating. Like a 3.5 is like an average good rating. It wasn't like wow. It's basically loads of different fantasy creatures. There's werewolves, vampires, and the main character in it, the woman in it, is a human living in this world with all of these fantasy beings, and she goes into a tournament in order to receive a very high reward at the end of it. And this tournament is quite literally life and death. If you die, you die. I feel like it's a very typical fantasy book. You know, it has all the main tropes in it, you know, the tournament, ordinary versus the elite, the fantasy beings. I think it's definitely a good book. It just didn't get me like attached to the characters as much. I wasn't invested too much into the story, and by the end of it I was like, nah. So I didn't choose to continue the series. However, I've heard very good things about Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent as well, so I am going to read that eventually. I don't think I would read the second one in this book though. Okay, next we have Luna and the Lie by Mariana Zapata. I love Mariana Zapata's writing. I love her books. She is most probably my favourite author. I love slow burn. Slow burn romances is my favourite of all time. I love just when there's like a little bit of like crumbs of romance that just get you like giggling, kicking your feet. I just love it. It's so good. And if you love that too and you haven't read any MZ books, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because they are the best. They are the best. So I gave this a 4. Okay, I lied. I actually gave this a 4.5. It's just a romance. It's just a plain romance. And it's about Luna and the guy... I don't know. I don't know what it's called, to be quite frank. Rip. Luna and Rip, and it's kind of like a workplace romance. She like fixes cars and does paint jobs and stuff on it. He's like grumpy, she's very sunshine, so you know, and there's lots of like really fluffy bits in it, lots of angst. The MMC Rip is like extremely protective of Luna, so there's some really good stuff in there. There's some really good scenes and moments, and yeah, I just loved this. I love Mariana Zapata, like I'm a huge fangirl. Okay, next we have Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. I actually read Twisted Love, Twisted Games, skipped Twisted Hate, and then went on to Twisted Lies, which is, you know, most probably not what most people did. For me, Twisted Hate, I just didn't really like the sound of it, but I have it. So I went on to Twisted Lies. Yeah, I'm glad I did though, because I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 yet again. It kind of gives me like, it's not mafia because it's not a mafia book, but it gives me mafia vibes, like very rich man who's also a very dangerous man and can do dangerous things with his money. Basically, he is called Christian Harper, and then the FMC is Stella Alonso, and she kind of has two jobs, so she doesn't have like tons of money coming in. She's quite like shy, and Christian basically helps her out with the apartment and stuff. Again, there's lots of angsty moments, lots of protective moments, lots of very cute moments, and I think it's one that keeps you like entertained throughout the whole book. Really enjoyed. I think you guys will definitely enjoy this if you like romance, if you love a protective MMC. Yeah. This is The Maddest Obsession by Danielle Laurie. This is the second book in the Maid series, which is a mafia romance series. If you want mafia romance, I feel like this is one of the most popular mafia series there is, but if you haven't already read it, you need to read the Maid series. There's 3 in the series, hopefully a 4th one is coming out, but this one's the best. This one is the best. This is actually a reread, so I've read this before and I read it again in 2025. I love the MMC in this. Christian is just obsessed with our girl in this. She's called Yana. She's quite, you know, a party girl. She kind of has some issues with drugs and drinking and stuff like that. Quite, you know, a wild person. And Christian is a mafia man, obviously, but he's very organised, very put together, so quite the opposite of each other really. But he is obsessed with her, like quite literally obsessed. He goes to therapy because of it. So yeah, but yeah, it's actually a really like sweet romance underneath it. There's obviously a lot of spice that is to be expected with a mafia book, but I think it's done quite well. It's not cringe. I'm not like looking at the book and going like ew. So that's a positive. Yeah, I think it's amazing. Would recommend, 5-star. Okay, next, as you can see, another mafia romance. We're kind of going in a little pattern here. This is Reckless Hair by, I don't know how to say this. I don't know whether it's Jenica or Janika. This is a romance between a Russian mafia and the Italian mafia, and it's like an arranged marriage. I will say this one is very fast paced. It's very like entertaining because it's just like things going on all the time. However, it did give me very much like Wattpad vibes, like Wattpad writing. I don't mind Wattpad writing if I'm in the mood for it, and I feel like sometimes it does get to a point where the writing is like really bad, but this one was okay. Like I didn't mind it, but it is very like, you know, you're not going to be reading it and expecting like masterpiece of literature, so just like warning. I gave this a 3-star. You know, it was okay. I wasn't obsessed with it. I won't lie, I don't remember too much about it, which I think shows why it was a 3-star, but you know what, it was a fun fast read. I read it in a day. So yeah, the writing, like the text of it, I don't know if you can see it, I think it's too bright. It's very large, not very large, but it's larger than most books. So if you're looking for a fast, quick, fun, mafia, spicy read, like this'll do. Okay, next we have another like dark romance vibes, very much following a pattern here. We can tell which mood I was in. This is 5 books in one, so it's the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey, and yeah, so there's 5 little books all in one. Did I go on Goodreads and rate every single little book in it, even though it was like 100 pages? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But I'm not ashamed of it. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was different. I think it's definitely, if you're new to dark romance or you want to go a little bit more into a darker romance, this is definitely a good start because it's not too intense. And what I love about this book is the FMC, the woman in this, who's called Lana Myers, is the serial killer, and the guy is the FBI agent who is looking into her murders basically. And I love that because I feel like you don't really have the woman being the like serial killer, the guy being the good guy, you know what I mean? It's kind of the other way around. So I loved seeing it. I loved having a switch up. It was so good. Lana Myers is a badass. One thing about me is I love a badass FMC. Like I love badass women. Read it, it's amazing, it's great. I gave the first book in it a 3.5, the second book a 4, the third book a 4, the fourth book a 3.5, and the fifth book a 4.5. So pretty high ratings for all of them. Really recommend. Great. Okay, so I did just rave about Marion Zapata and how much I loved her, and it really breaks my heart to say this, like it really does actually break my heart. But I didn't really like this one. I gave it a 3. which again, it's a decent rating, it's not a bad rating, but compared to all the other Mariana Zapata books that I've read, which I've given like 4 and 5s consistently on every one, you know, 3 is a bit of a drop. First of all, it's different for Mariana because she usually does romances, and this is a fantasy romance, so it's a bit different, and it's basically about a woman who is on her own with her friends, and she has this pet who she believes is a different creature, and she doesn't know what it is, but people keep going after her because of this pet and her identity. So she goes to this like ranch owned by Henry Blackrock. Yeah, we see where this is going. She goes on this ranch with Henry Blackrock. Like, he kind of distances himself. He's not the most friendliest guy in the world. He's a bit of a grump. But yeah, they eventually obviously fall in love, and it's great. There's some angsty moments in it. There's some good little cute, sweet moments. So I did enjoy it, which is why I gave it a 3. I just didn't love it. I feel like for Mariana Zapata, obviously she's known for her slow burn. She's known for her really good crumbs of romance that builds up and builds up and builds up, and it's just amazing in the end. And for me, I don't know, I wanted it to go a bit slower. I wanted more crumbs. Yeah, so I gave it a 3. But I would still recommend it for the Mariana Zapata readers out there. Just, I wouldn't read it as your first MZ book because I think there's better ones out there. So next we have Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood, again, is one of my favourite authors. She's most probably up there with like MZ and stuff like that. She is a romance reader, she's a romance writer, and she freaking pops out books like no other. Like, she's crazy. I don't know how she does it, but I'm here for it. I love it. Keep feeding me. This is a 4.5 book. I thought it was going to be a 5. I was immediately like hooked into it. I was loving it. It was like addicted. I wanted to just keep reading. But then like towards the end, like they got together, not early on, like it was a bit of like a build up. But then once they got together, I kind of got a bit bored. It's really bad of me. I do tend to do that. Like once the couple are actually together, like you've got to keep me entertained. And yeah, I just kind of got a little bit bored towards the end of it. So not bored, I just wanted more. So I gave it a 4.5 because it just wasn't there. If you haven't read any Ali Hazelwood books, she's very much known for doing books of women in STEM. So, you know, they're all scientists, they're all doctors, they're all doing something amazing. This one's kind of like not really enemies to lovers. She thinks it's enemies to lovers, but really the guy, you know, really likes her. So it's a really good book. I would definitely recommend it. I would recommend any Ali Hazelwood book. So yeah. So after reading Love Theoretically, I then wanted to go and read more Ali Hazelwood, and after I read Love Theoretically, this one literally came out a couple of days after I read it. So this is called Problematic Summer Romance. I love the cover of this. I think the colours are really cute. This follows Maya and Connor. There is an age gap. She is 23 and he is 38, so quite a large age gap, but I don't mind that. I don't know how to explain it because it's not really second chance, but she's always been into him, he's always been into her, and he's just adamant that he will not let it happen. He's not going to be with her no matter how much he wants to be with her. I thought it was a little bit different to her other books. I don't know, I think the romance was built up a bit differently. I'm not the biggest fan of like second chance romances. Like I prefer them to be strangers, to be honest, and then just meet up and it goes from there. When they already know each other like beforehand, I'm not the biggest fan of it, so maybe that didn't help with it. I ended up giving this a 3, so still a good rating. I just wasn't obsessed with it, and it isn't the book I would pick out of all her books. You can see my like pile growing beside me. That is why my shelf looks like freaking empty, because I've just like raided it all for the books. Okay, now we have a fantasy, and this is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This was major on Book Talk, on BookTube, everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. It was super highly rated. I mean, on Goodreads, it has a 4.3 average rating out of 845,000 people's reviews, which is major high, like very, very high, very good rating for a book with that many reviews. I gave it a 4. I really enjoyed it. Wasn't a 5 for me, just because I felt like there were just a few things missing. I feel like you feel it, you know when it's a 5, and it just wasn't a 5 for me. So it's about a girl who lives in this kind of dystopian world. She's very poor, they don't really have much food, they don't have clean water, and she's kind of separated in a bad part of it, and then there's like the upper elite side that just do not care whatsoever for the people who are suffering. And she ends up getting into this portal into another realm where she meets Kingfisher, and he is kind of like very much respected but also feared, and some people do not like him because of like a history between, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to like give too much away, but yeah, so he is basically like death. That is how he's described, death himself, and she is plucked out of this portal by death, by Kingfisher, and then obviously the romance goes from there. It's very much like a stereotypical fantasy. It has your typical tropes that you would see in it, but they're done very well, done very like keeps you entertained, very gripping story. There is a trope in here which is one of my all-time favourite tropes in the entire world. I don't really want to say it because it will be like, it could be a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it, but it's my favourite trope of all time. Not slow burn, a different one, and it's in this one and I love it. And I do have Brimstone, I just haven't read it yet, so I'm excited to read it. But yeah, so 4, would definitely recommend. Great fantasy. I think it's a great fantasy if you're just getting into it. But yeah, okay, moving on to this series. I love this series so much. Like, it's one of my favourites ever that I have read. I just, so good. So we have This Woven Kingdom by Tahiri Mafi. We have These Infinite Fates and All This Twisted Glory. So at the time I read these were the ones that were out. I actually started this thinking it was a trilogy. Oh no, that's a lie. That's a lie. Is it a lie? No, I knew it was a series. I thought it was a trilogy. So like I was getting through them, read the 3rd one, and I was like, there's a lot we've got to get through, and we've only got a bit of pages left. And then I came to the realization that there was actually 5 books in the series and the 2 last books weren't out yet. So then I was heartbroken and devastated. So yeah, but anyway, if you haven't read this already, go buy it right now. I feel like the first one I gave a 3.5, which, you know, given how much I'm like showing my love for this series, is quite a low rating. It's a girl called Eliza, and she is a maid, and she's also this being called a djinn, and they are kind of frowned upon, not really wanted by the humans, and so are put in lower positions like maids and stuff, and they're not exactly treated the best. So she is a maid, but she's also a hidden, lost heir to the djinn people, and I love that trope. I think it's amazing. I think it's such a good trope in fantasy books, and this one is just done so well. And then we meet Prince Cameron, and we have a little bit of romance, and then at the end, I'm not gonna say, but someone else comes into the picture. That's for him. That silence was for him. That's kind of a spoiler, but honestly, you just need to know it, because you need to get this book over and start the second book, because it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. You will know. You will know. When you read it, you will know. So that one's a 3.5. Then I read All This Twisted Glory. Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. I read These Infinite Fates, which is the second one, and I also love the covers of these, by the way. Like, so pretty. Amazing. The romance in this is just... ooh. If you want a book that is like the most amazing portrayal of yearning and longing from an MMC, read this. Read this. Just to like kind of give you a hint of what you will get. If you've read the Shatter Me series, you will have met Aaron Warner. This is the same author as the Shatter Me series. So this woman wrote Aaron Warner. So I think you kind of get the picture of what this book is going to be like. I gave that one a 4.5, and then we have All This Twisted Glory, and I gave this one a 5. Again, it just kind of follows along. I will say this series is definitely not like a major plot driven. Like the book is very much character driven, I would say, and romance driven rather than plot. There is obviously plot, it's just not tons of it, but I think that I like that. I feel like it's a good balance for what I personally like. For me, I would definitely say I'm more like 60% romance, 40% plot, and I think this is what that gives, and I love it. I gave this a 5. Okay, next we have Fearless, which is the third book in the Powerless trilogy. So it's Powerless, Reckless, Fearless, and there's also the novella which is Powerful, and then there's another novella out called Fearful, but I haven't read that one yet. I can't lie, I wasn't obsessed with this series, this trilogy. I thought I would because it had so much attention on Book Talk, BookTube, but I just wasn't super obsessed with the romance in it, the characters, the plot. I just didn't feel connected whatsoever to the story, and I feel like if you're not connected, like you're just not going to enjoy it. I gave it a 3, which again is still a good rating. I would say like the series for me on a whole was a 3-star. Yeah, just something missing for me. I just wasn't like obsessed with it, and obviously I know there's a lot of controversy around this series because of the whole Red Queen Powerless thing. I will say it is very, very, very similar, but I'm not going to get into that. You know, you guys can have your own opinions on that sort of stuff. Wasn't obsessed with this. Okay, so we have a different genre. We have poetry. This is The Evolution of a Girl by L.E. Bowman. I do really like poetry, and it's like I read it on the side of like the main fiction book that I'll be reading, and I kind of just read like sections at a time. For me, this one just didn't really hit. I gave it a 2.5. I didn't mind the writing style of it. Like this writing style is kind of what I would go for. If you've read like Rupi Kaur's poetry or Courtney Pepinell's, it's very similar to that. But I thought the poems were a bit basic. I wasn't that, like I didn't really relate to them. I do think, however, poetry is a very subjective genre. You either going to love it or hate it, and I feel like that really depends on kind of what you've been through in life, your situation. For me, the topics in this book, I just didn't relate to them massively, but I did think a bit of the poems were like slightly basic and could have done with a bit more kind of like meaning into them. Definitely give it a try and see how you guys think about it if you're into poetry, but for me, I wasn't I didn't love it. So this is The Jasad Hair by Sarah Hashem. I think that's how it is pronounced, or Sarah Hashem. It is a romantasy, and oh my god, it is amazing. It's basically about Sylvia, who is in this little village, and she is the lost heir to Jasad, and I love that trope. I think it's done amazingly well in this one. And basically her kingdom was attacked and abandoned, and everyone thinks that the like royal line is dead and died out, but really she still lives. Then the love interest is Arin of Nazal, and Nazal is the enemy kingdom to Jasad and had like a big part to play in the downfall of Jasad. So this is a true enemies to lovers. Like they literally hate each other. The build up is just it's just so good. The slow burn is amazing. The tropes in it are so good. There is a tournament in here, so a very, very popular fantasy plot. It's not the main focus of the book. There's other building up things and scenes and plots and stuff going on around the tournament, so it's not the main focus of it, which I really, really liked, because I feel like the tournament plot is quite overused at the minute in fantasy book, but this one was done amazingly. I absolutely loved it. The ending was so good. So then we have the Jasad Crown. I also love the covers to these books, and this one was just as good. I gave them both 5 stars. They both immediately went into my god tier book, so it just shows like how much I love these. The ending is kind of a controversial one. I think people will either love it or hate it. I loved it and I hated it at the same time, but it was a good ending. It was a very emotional ending. You guys, you'll have to make your own opinion of it if you read it. Well, you should be reading it, but again, the romance just continues in this one. It's just so good. The yearning, the longing, the kind of issues between them. Obviously, it's kind of a forbidden romance at the same time. It's just amazing. I love it. It's so good. I would all the books I have read this year, I would be recommending these 2 for you to read because they're insane. Okay, next I read Private Peaceful. I do not have it on me for some reason. Private Peaceful is actually a children's book. It is by Michael Morpurgo, and I was obsessed with Michael Morpurgo when I was younger and in primary school. I read pretty much like majority of his books, and my favourite one was Private Peaceful, and it was my favourite book for so long when I was younger because it was the first book that actually kind of made me feel attached to the characters and actually made me emotional even when I was in year 6 and I was like 9 years old. I gave it a 5 star. Again, obviously it was a reread for me, but like 10 years later, it's so good. Like, I know it's children's literature, but it's about war and it's kind of about them as children and then having to be called up into the war, going through that, and oh, it's so sad, but it's so good. Yeah, it definitely gets you feeling. Truly does. Like, it doesn't sugarcoat it. It really does show the horrors of the war and what the soldiers went through. Basically, the plot and the structure of it I love because it basically counts down the time to the present moment. So I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's a thing that happens obviously at the end of the book, and throughout the book it's basically a countdown to that moment at the end of it, and throughout this countdown it's recalling all the memories of his childhood and how he got to the position he's in. So you get super attached to the characters, you love the kind of build up to it, and then the ending. I'm not even going to talk about it. I just want to read some of the quotes from it because it's just, yeah. I could believe only in the hell I was living in, a hell on earth, and it was man-made, not God-made. As I watched them, I felt a sudden ache in my heart. I don't think it was anger or jealousy, more a pang of loss, of deep grief. Yeah, that's 2. I'm going to give the other ones a bit spoilery, so I don't want to say them. But yeah, it just really took me by surprise on how good it was and how emotional it made me, and I think everyone should give it a try just because it does really shed light on the horrors of it whilst also retelling the soldier stories. So yeah, I would definitely read it. Next, going from super emotional, we are going to Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I don't have the book on me because I did in fact give it away. That's how much I did not like this book. I don't think I've ever rated a book this low. I gave it a 2 star, which yeah, is very bad rating for me personally. I did not like this book at all. When I started reading this book, I expected it to be Wattpad vibes. I expected it to be, you know, not the best writing, but going to be entertaining. It was going to be a fun little dark romance mafia thing. It's basically a Captain Hook retelling. It's not like exact, but like the main girl character is called Wendy. His nickname is Hook. There's little aspects of Captain Hook's story in there, but it's not like an exact retelling. Okay, so these are just a few things that I've said in my review. Again, I don't ever want to be super harsh on a book because I know that the author has put so much time into making that book, and obviously it's their art, and I really do hate criticizing a book. However, I think sometimes you've just got to be honest, and for me this just wasn't it. It was very much insta love. One thing for me, I hate insta love, so that obviously didn't work right off the bat. Wasn't obsessed with that. There was a lot of spice, you know, smut in it, and it wasn't even like, it wasn't even plot or building up. It was just smut. Then they loved each other, and I was just like, you guys don't even know each other. Like, what's his favorite color? You don't know. Also, the girl in it, Wendy, was described as being very shy, doesn't like to break rules, really, you know, kind of conservative, reserved. And then all of a sudden she just broke every single thing she just said about herself. You know, she's sleeping with a guy she just met. It was very contradicting to how she was described to then how she acted. The MMC, his inner thoughts about her was weird. He was obsessed with how innocent she was and how he wanted to like just use that innocence and then throw her away. One of the inner thoughts he had, I genuinely nearly DNF'd it, and it was like 24 pages in, and he's just met her, by the way. He's not even talked to her, he's just seen her. I can't remember exactly what it was word by word, and like, I'm so sorry for what you're about to hear, but he basically like was thinking about having sex with her over her dad's dead body, like on top of her dad's dead body, and like but more in detail and more gross stuff mentioned. And I was 24 pages in and I generally just like stared at the wall and just thought like, what am I doing? But I continued it. It only took me like 2.5 hours to read. It is a short book and the like text is quite large. I just thought I'd carry it on, and you know, 2 hours, like, it was not great 2 hours. But yeah, next we have Watering the Soul by Courtney Pepperell. I have read all of her Pillow Thoughts collection, and I've read a lot of her other books. I've kind of just been going through her entire collection. For me, I gave this a 3. Again, poetry, very subjective. I think you've got to relate to the topic to be connected to the poetry. Yeah, I just wasn't as into it as what other people might be if they are more related to kind of the topics. The romance, the poetry that she does is like, I don't think you can see it because it's too bright, but it's in sections. So for example, we have Take a Breath, Embrace the Silence, Overcome Your Fear, etc, etc, etc. I really like the way she writes and the way the sections that she does do. But again, very subjective. I think you've got to relate to the poetry to be into it. So yeah, 3 star. Okay, now we have another dark romance by Sophie Lark. At this point, when I was reading this book, I was like, maybe dark romance isn't for me. Because I didn't really like it. I gave it a 2.5. It was a bit better than Hooked though, I will give that. The writing vibe was very Wattpad-ish again. It was a bit better though than Hooked. There was situations in it which I did think were a bit weird, and I was like, why on earth would you ever stay with that guy after that? I think dark romance can either be really, really good, it's done really, really well, or it can take a very weird turn. It gets to a point where I think it kind of crosses the line for me. I'm not like afraid of dark romance. I've read the Cat and Mouse duet, which is Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline, and that is very intense dark romance, and that for me was like, it was good. I wasn't obsessed with it, but it was a good duet. This for me is just a bit of a weird one. Like, it takes a bit of a weird turn. Basically, they're like rival artists, and he kind of becomes obsessed with her and stalks her. There is a second one to it, but I didn't feel the need to read it after I read this. I just wasn't bothered, really. I think I definitely need some better dark romance recommendations, so if you guys have any, please let me know. I really love like mafia romance as well, so please hook me up with them if you have some recommendations. So this is Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is a chess romance, and it is about Mallory, who used to do chess and was very good at it but quit because of family reasons. They are kind of struggling with money, they're in a kind of a bad situation, and then the MMC is called Nolan, and he is like the current chess star to beat. He's like, you know, the top one, and he meets Mallory and he wants to get her back into chess. It's very cute, there's very, very cute scenes, the build up is really good. I really, really enjoyed it. I think I read it in like 2 days. It's definitely one that keeps you addicted to it. It wants you to keep reading and reading and reading. So if you were going to start with an Ali Hazelwood book, I think this is definitely a very good one to start with. Or if you haven't read it, just pick it up, read it. It's very, very cute, very sweet, very fast paced. So yeah, 5 stars. Ooh. Okay, Okay, next we have a bit of a different book. This is The Greek and Roman Myths, A Guide to the Classical Stories by Philip Matisak. I don't know how to say that, so I'll put his name on the screen and you can, you know. This is a non-fiction book about the Greek myths. So I love Greek mythology. I've always been so interested in it. I love reading Greek like retellings. So this is basically like a beginner's book on the actual myths. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I absolutely loved his writing style. Like, it was very humorous as well as being educational. Obviously, it is a beginner book, so it gives you kind of the whole overview of the Greek mythology with simpling it down a little bit, so it's not an overload of information. I loved it. It was so good, and I'm gonna upgrade and go to a bit of a more advanced Greek mythology book next. It was just such a good book. Really good intro to Greek mythology if you want to get more into it without being like overly information loaded. And yeah, loved it. Would totally recommend if you want to get more into it. We have another Ali Hazelwood book. This is Under One Roof. No, it's not. That's a lie. It is called Loathe to Love You. There is 3 novellas in this book, but this is like the entire collection in one. So there is Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero, and they are little cute romance stories all in one. Did I rate them all separately on Goodreads? Yes, I did. I gave Under One Roof a 4. This is basically a roommate scenario. So she moves in with this guy. They don't really like each other at the start, but then they fall in love. So really good trope. Really enjoyed that one. Stuck With You is about a girl who gets stuck in a lift with a guy called, I don't know, but with this guy and they've already met before, they've already had like a bit of a fling before, and so they have to basically talk it out in this elevator. So again, interesting. I give that one a 3. Number 3 is called Below Zero, and this is about a NASA aerospace engineer, and she gets injured and stuck in one of the like ice, down in the ice, and the guy that she's interested in and her like rival comes out and helps her, even though it's dangerous and treacherous journey. 3 very cute little like meet cutes and romances, so definitely would recommend if you want some light-hearted entertaining romance. I am sat on the floor, so my back is starting to hurt and I'm also hungry, so things are going fantastic. Okay, we're into our October reads, guys, so we're nearly there. Thank you for staying with me for this long if you have. Okay, next we have this absolute mammoth of a book. I think you guys will have all heard about this that has come out this year. This is Alchemized by Senlin Yu. So if you do not know kind of the background to this book, it was originally published as a Hermione fanfiction, which is Draco Malfoy and Hermione Granger from the Harry Potter universe. And she wrote a romance between them, and it was basically about the scenario if Voldemort won and the Order of the Phoenix lost, and the aftermath of that. Obviously, this book has nothing to do with Harry Potter. It's all changed into a different world, different characters, different magic system. It is written like masterpiece. Like, it is, the writing is insane, the characters are insane, the plot is amazing, the romance is amazing because it's a very complicated story. You know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's very much a heartbreaking, heartfelt, devastating journey that really breaks both of them, but they come out of it. I think it was also very interesting to see a story where the good lose and the bad win, because I feel like it's always, you know, the good wins. So to see that different side was amazing. The book is split into 3, so there's like part 1, part 2, part 3, and it basically goes in from present to past to present. So there's lots of parallels between the books, which were just like, wow. It is a masterpiece. It's very much dark topics in it though, so definitely like look into trigger warnings and what you're going to face in this book, because there is very dark topics in there. Do not be intimidated by the size. It is huge. It's amazing, and I would literally recommend this to everyone. It was a 6-star, immediately top tier book. It's just like a whole nother level of writing. After I read that, I then was in a bit of like a Hermione mood. So I actually read a Hermione fanfiction. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I read so many Hermione fanfictions when I was younger, and one of my favourite ones was Love and Other Misfortunes. I was trying to think of the name after I read Alchemize. I was like, okay, I want to read it, I want to reread it, and I couldn't find it anywhere, and then I managed to find it, and then I was like, oh, it's also by Senlin Yu. I also gave it 5 stars. It's very good. Obviously fanfiction, you're not really supposed to rate it. I think everyone reads fanfiction on Wattpad, and so I'm going to include it in here. Next, another Ali Hazelwood book. This is Mate, and this is the second book in kind of like an interconnected series that she has done. The first one was Bride, and that is a fantasy romance, and this is Mate, which is also a fantasy romance. So this is a romance between werewolves. So we have Cohen, I think that's how you say it, who is the alpha of this pack, and then we have Serena, who is like a hybrid, so she's half human, half werewolf, and it's the romance between them. They are mates. It's not really a spoiler, it's very heavily hinted at the end of Bride, and it's also at the start of this book. I love a fated mates trope. That is my top favorite trope of all time, alongside slow burn. I just love it. I think it just creates the most angsty, protective, cute romance stories ever. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4. Again, you know when it's a 5, and it just wasn't a 5 for me. Yeah, definitely recommend it. There's some like other politics kind of in it regarding like the packs and there's like vampires and stuff in it. So there's some political stuff in it as well, but obviously the romance is the main kind of plot of it. And also I love the cover of this. I think it's so cool. Okay, this is a big switch up because I have never read a horror or kind of psychological thriller before I read this, and it's also my first Stephen King book ever, and obviously he's a very well-known famous author. So this is The Shining, which again I feel like everyone has heard of The Shining, whether it's the book, Stephen King, or the movie. I gave it a 5. It's just, again, the writing of the writing style, the way he describes is just like a whole nother level. There is a lot of like, most probably people would say overly descriptive parts. Like there's a whole chapter on him describing the kind of state of the boiler room in the hotel. So, you know, it's a lot, but I think you've got to appreciate it when it comes to like books like this. You've got to kind of appreciate that there is going to be very descriptive scenes. So if you don't know like anything about The Shining, it's basically about a family. We have Wendy, the mum, Jack, the dad, and then Danny is the young kid they have. The dad needs a job like ASAP. He's desperate for one. So he takes this job at the Overlook Hotel, which is very much secluded from society. It's very far up in the mountains, and also over winter it gets snowed in, and you quite literally cannot get contact from anyone once you're in there, and once you're in there, you know, you're stuck in there. So it's very much, you know, you're isolated, you are on your own, and he takes this job to be the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel during the winter. But the hotel is, I won't really say haunted, it's haunted, but it's kind of got its own presence, and it basically makes the dad, Jack, go mad and causes him to do things that he wouldn't usually do, and kind of latches onto the bad parts of Jack's character and amplifies them into a monster, basically. The writing is just insane. The build-up of the story is crazy. It's so good. It's so entertaining. The plot, you know, all the things that are going on in it is just amazing. Yeah, and I didn't think I would be that scared by it because it's a book. I feel like movies, you know, there's sounds, there's silence, there's stuff to make you jump and get you scared. I didn't think I'd really feel that from a book, but it is actually very eerie. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I loved annotating this one as well. I don't know if you can see it, but I annotated the heck out of this book just because I really wanted to kind of like get the most out of the read. I'm just trying to find my like key bit. It's taking me forever to find. So this is a line from the like literally the introduction to the book. It's not even the main book itself, but it just shows you his kind of like writing style. So it says, I believe these stories exist because we sometimes need to create unreal monsters and bogies to stand in for all the things we fear in our real lives. The parent who punches instead of kissing, the auto accident that takes a loved one, the cancer we one day discover living in our own bodies. If such terrible occurrences were acts of darkness, they may actually be easier to cope with, but instead of being dark, they have their own terrible brilliance. It seems to me, and none shines so bright as the acts of cruelty we sometimes perpetrate in our own families. To look directly at such brilliance is to be blinded, and so we create any number of filters. The ghost story, the horror story, the uncanny tale, all of these are such filters. The man or woman who insists there are no ghosts is only ignoring the whispers of his or her own heart, and how cruel it seems to me. Surely even the most malignant ghost is a lonely thing, left out in the dark, desperate to be heard. Yeah, wow. Next we have Every Spiral of Fate, which is the 4th book in the This Woven Kingdom series that I was talking about earlier. This is actually a special edition cover. I just like to show you that because, like, stunning. Like, it's also signed. Anyways, amazing. 5-star. The romance just built up so good. This is also a major slow burn romance. Like, we're 4 books in, and I will just tell you right now, they haven't kissed yet. So I better get a kiss in the 5th book, let me just tell you that. But that's how much like slow burn we're talking about. Again, the yearning, the longing from both parties in this book is just like so good. 5-star, amazing. Read the series right now. Okay, then we have Nightshade by Autumn Woods. This is like a dark academia romance. I think it's academia, I don't know. And it's basically about Ophelia Winters, and her mum and dad worked at this university called Sorrow Song University, and they died in a tragic helicopter accident. But Ophelia does not think it's an accident, and she thinks they were murdered. And she goes back to this university in order to figure out what happened to her parents. And at this university, she meets Alex. And Alex is the son of the person that Ophelia believes to have killed her parents. So of course, she's very, you know, distancing herself from him. She doesn't want anything to do with him. But they fall in love, and it's great. It's very good romance, very good plot. I really enjoyed it. It was very like exciting and gripping. Would totally recommend. The second one comes out in July, I believe, so I'm so excited for that. This was a 5-star. Okay, now we have The City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. I thought it was unnecessarily long. I didn't think it needed to be as long as it was. I feel like there was a lot of filler in it that just like could have easily been simplified or took out altogether. I don't mind when a book is long, as long as the length of it is justified. For example, Alchemized, I can see why that needed to be 1,000 pages long. This one, I don't think it needed to be that long. I wasn't that obsessed with the romance, to be honest. I heard a lot of good things about the MMC in this. Darian Castle, I don't know, people are obsessed with him, and I wanted that feeling, but I didn't really get it. I wasn't obsessed with the characters. I did like Lauren because she's the FMC. I think it's refreshing to see a character who isn't like majorly powerful, who isn't like badass, but more sweet and soft, and I think that was nice to see, a bit of a different change. I don't know, I just thought it was a lot for no reason. It could have been cut down a lot shorter, and for that reason I gave it a 3-star. I didn't continue it. It is a series, but I think you can leave it on this. Like, it isn't really a cliffhanger. You can read the first one and then move on, and then if you do enjoy it, you can carry on reading it. So yeah, I think, again, give it a try, give it a go, make your own opinion of it, but for me it just wasn't the best. finally, we are on to our 38th and final book, and this is The Right Move by Liz Tomfordy. I think, again, this is a very, very popular series that's going on right now. It's a interconnected romance series about sports. So this one is a hockey player, and he is known to be kind of the playboy, the ladies' man, and kind of like a bad boy kind of vibe. Hold on a second. I've just realised I've got The Right Move and not Mile High. This is the right one. Anyway, yeah, so Xander's is the guy and Stevie is the FMC in this, and she is the flight attendant on his team's plane. And so it's like forced proximity, it's kind of forbidden romance because they're not supposed to like fraternize or whatever. And it's good, it's a good romance, it's a nice build up, it's really good character development between both of them, and they change for the better for themselves and so that they can both have each other. I think as well in this book, the body representation and like having insecurities and being a bigger woman is really represented well in this, and I really liked that representation, and it was written very well. I think I gave this a 4-star. Very good rating. Just wanted a little bit more, and I wasn't like too obsessed with the characters. Like I want to be like obsessed with the couple to give it a 5, and I didn't really feel that with this one, but still really, really good. So yeah, that is our final book. You know, editing this is going to be like a real pain because I've talked for I don't even know how long, but I was starving and I'm going to go get myself some food now. Please let me know what your favourite reads of 2025 was, and if you disagree or agree with my reviews on these books. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in another video.